All right, call to order the Board of Library Trustees Committee of the Whole for Monday, September 13th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Trustee Bella? Here. Trustee Meadow?
Here.
Trustee Rule is currently not here. Trustee Smart?
Here.
Trustee Salaries?
Here.
Trustee Suplet?
Here.
President Fit?
Here. All right, let's keep moving on. Any public comments? Another additional email? No? Okay. Okay, and we'll move on to item 1, revisions of policy 5.001, hours of service.
Okay, so what I'm presenting today in this memo is a revision to our hours of service. This is something we talked about for a while. We are currently under temporary hours for the library due to the COVID pandemic. We've evaluated hours both during the pandemic, or usage, both during the pandemic and pre-pandemic, looking at 2019 numbers. And we feel that we'd like to change the hours moving forward. What we would like to do is get a permanent hour structure in place in the near future so we can plan as we increase in-person programming, and among a number of other things. We'd like to be able to plan with a set number of hours here for a little bit later end time. We don't feel that the usage of the library dictates going back to a 10 o'clock close. Even, if you look at page 2 in the memo, this is usage pre-pandemic, so 2019. And as you can see, the average number of library visitors Monday through Friday, it really starts to taper off after about 7 o'clock. And between 9 and 10, it's really quiet around here. So we feel that going back to 9 o'clock is a nice balance between giving us some additional hour, and an additional hour to be able to have later in-person programming, but without going to that 10 o'clock where we feel it may not be as useful. On the weekends, evaluating the extended hours, these hours were extended a number of years ago. Evaluating usage during that time is also something that we did, and you can see the graph below, calling out Saturdays and Sundays. The shaded areas are the areas that we're looking to decrease currently. So you'd see a sharp drop off after during the times that are shaded. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have about this. Before we do that, regarding budget impact, we have frozen hours during the pandemic as people left or retired, whatever, and did not hire enough hours in each of the departments to offset the hours that were given to those departments for those extended hours on the weekends. So the budget that we'll be looking at tonight did not include the weekend hours that were originally in there. So we removed those. If you guys decide that you want to go back to longer weekend hours, we can add those back in. But this was under the assumption that we would not be going to those longer hours.
Please, any questions? I've got a couple. Okay, I guess I'll go. Kind of looking at your page, it's like page 3, we got your bullet points here. So, you talk about the programming, so we can do more programming after that time. You have to focus my memory here. When we were going to the later hours before 10 o'clock, did we have programming from that time period from 8 to 9?
Yeah, typically it would end by 9 o'clock.
It would end by 9.
Yeah, 9 or 9:30 is some of the latest, but that would give people enough time to exit the building.
And do we know what, and most of these programs are an hour or so they would have started at 8 o'clock. Do we know what kind of data that we had as far as usage at that point?
Regarding programming?
Yeah.
We probably do. I don't have it handy, but we can look at that. But we have worked with the program manager on these hours, and she feels that this is a good, the 9 o'clock is a good, I think that's reasonable time to close. Some of those later programs would shift a little bit earlier, and we would just end at 8:30 instead of 9 o'clock.
I just want to clarify something because I go to a lot of nighttime programs. They start at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
They don't start at 8, they start at 7. And they typically don't go more than 90 minutes. So that's when I go, I'll be quite honest with you.
Okay.
That would give these people a half hour then to get out of the building.
All right, just, okay, that's fine. And that half hour, I guess a security thing, you know, why we're doing it, but is it I'm just gonna ask the question, is it a necessary security thing that we have to do it at the point, so we're losing that half hour there?
To end the program a half hour before we close.
Yeah, well, the study rooms actually, I'm kind of getting at.
Oh, the study room?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty necessary to make sure everybody's out. We don't have anybody hanging around. If we made the study rooms available until close, then it would be another 15, 20 minutes to get people out. You know, let them finish up what they're doing and then get everybody out. So it is that half hour buffer allows us to clear those rooms and make sure that everybody's done. Because they don't always leave right at the.
Yeah. And then the last thing is about the book would be, I was gonna say, you know, you've got, you know, it gets back after 8 o'clock, you know, properly unloaded, and now I get it, they would be unloading it after hours, but is that a problem for certain individuals staying a little bit longer?
Well, it's a couple of staff that are staying here after hours, and, you know, of course, we like to, you know, we don't like to have just a couple staff in here for something such as this. If we could have the library open a little bit later, that's not really a major driver, it's just kind of a benefit to kind of participate.
I just had a quick question. Has there been any feedback from community members regarding times, like staying, has anybody, you know, people giving feedback about, like, we love your virtual program, we love this, has anybody said, you know, could you stay later, could you maybe make shorter hours, and has there been any feedback like that?
Yeah, not minimal,
Okay.
just maybe a couple calls about going back to our original hours, extending the hours. Yeah.
Because obviously I'm just asking the question, just because, you know, I want to make sure, I would say the first and foremost thing is that we want to make sure that we're servicing the public the way it needs to be. But I would say at the same point, we want to make sure that we're not overextending if we don't necessarily have to. Sure. That's the point of my question. Anybody else, Gerald, I think you're saying something. Okay. Does everybody find though overall with the proposed hours of service? Any real big questions on that?
There's a couple more things to note. On the Sunday, the noon to 6, we can do in one shift. If we go later than that, we would have to break it into a second shift. The other thing to note is the temporary policy that we brought over and over again. One of the elements that was outstanding in that temporary policy is the temporary hours. So the next item to talk about is that policy. And so with that, I'd like to sunset that temporary policy, and just when we make this motion at the board meeting, we want to include there's that bridge time between the board meeting September 21st, when that temporary policy expires, and when this goes into effect, we're proposing October 18th. And that buffer gives us a little bit of time to work everybody's schedules and stuff like that. So just something to know.
Yeah, okay, so if everybody's okay with this, we're gonna go on and finish so at the meeting actually next week, as it turns out, we'll have a formal motion for adopting these hours and going back. Okay. All right, let's go on item 2. We were just talking about the temporary policy due to COVID-19.
Yeah, so this, I won't really bring this to the board meeting. This is effective through September 21st. I did want to bring it to you guys with the intention of, you know, letting you know that I plan to sunset this unless there's any reason that you feel that we should keep this going.
The only thing that we're left for the hours of service and the meeting room.
Exactly, so the meeting rooms will be going.
Yeah. All right, any comments or questions on that one? Yeah. Move on to item 3, 2022 library holidays and closing. You were just asking about this the other day.
So here's the annual library holiday dates and closings memo. There were some changes last year. Last year we moved the 2021 Columbus Day was removed from the schedule, and we added an observance day. For this year, we do have an addition to the schedule, that's Juneteenth, and that was added as a state and federal holiday in 2021, and it is reflected on our proposed schedule here. We are proposing that we include Juneteenth as an open holiday. So the library would remain open. Staff would receive a floating holiday to be used within 90 days of the holiday as a paid day off. That's how we handle, we between Junior Day, Veterans Day, and President's Day.
Essentially what we're doing is we are giving an additional day off.
Correct.
Does anybody have any comments or questions on that one?
One other thing I want to mention on this is, we have our staff development day listed in here. This is something that we bring back, every year for, that's full day of staff training. Last year, 2 years ago was the first day that we did a full day. We're bringing it back, this year a little bit later. Typically we would do it in March. We're bringing this back, proposing May 13th. And that would be a full day closure. So I just wanted to point that out to you guys as well.
Quick here, let's move on to item 4, revisions to a human resource policy for holidays.
Okay, so because Juneteenth was recognized in the schedule, we would have to make an update to our holiday policy. So this would add Juneteenth to our list of paid holidays. It would increase our paid holidays from 12 days to 13 days. And if there are any changes.
Good. Any questions or comments on that one? All right. Move on to item 5, the 2022 board meeting schedule.
Okay, so this, again, another annual schedule for you to approve. This is the meeting of the Board of Library Trustees schedule. There are a few exceptions this year, just the way the dates fall. So the first one is the January Committee of the Whole. Committee of the Whole meeting in January falls on the 3rd, which is the first Monday after the New Year's holiday. The board could consider rescheduling or canceling the January Committee of the Whole meeting. Staff recommends rescheduling the January Committee of the Whole meeting to Monday, January 10th. So that would be the following Monday. The May Committee of the Whole, it's the first Monday in May is Ed L. Pickard. I missed that up. The board could consider rescheduling or canceling the May Committee of the Whole meeting. Staff recommend rescheduling the May Committee of the Whole meeting to Monday, the 9th. And then we have the July Committee of the Whole meeting. First Monday in July is Independence Day. The libraries are closed. The board can consider rescheduling or canceling the July Committee of the Whole meeting. Staff recommend rescheduling the July Committee of the Whole meeting to Monday, July 11th. So that's 1 week later. And then September Committee of the Whole meeting, the first Monday in September is Labor Day. The libraries are closed. The board could consider rescheduling and canceling. We recommend rescheduling the September Committee of the Whole to Monday, September 12th. And then the October board meeting, the third Tuesday, October 18th, is the ILA annual conference. So likely staff and board trustees will be at that conference. And we recommend rescheduling the October board meeting to the 4th Tuesday of September.
I've got some comments here, Deb.
First, shouldn't the, on the schedule here, shouldn't it be January 2022, not January 2021?
No.
All the dates are.
Yeah.
Yes, all of them are, yeah, I actually did read the back.
Any? I've got a couple points to ask about. This is the way we've always done. That's why this meeting is today, just a week before. So, get 2 comments here. What's the thoughts? We've always had it on the first Monday, except for these situations. What does it do if we, for that particular week, we move it to that Tuesday? So just the very next day, instead of going a full week. We're just having these meetings on this day. Does that do anything for staff versus?
Probably helps us because it gives us a little bit more time between the call and the board meeting.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, how would everybody feel if we just did it for the following?
I'm for it.
You're for it?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I've got my library board meeting on the second Tuesday. So when we do Monday and Tuesday,
Yeah.
no, I'd be for the first Tuesday. That sounds good.
Okay, do the first three.
I just had a question, and that is historically, because you guys, so many of you have been on this board for a while. Is there a month that typically there's a cow is not needed, or
Right,
do you just,
it's canceled.
Yeah.
right, and is there like, you cancel it a week ahead of time, or you just cancel it if there's not enough on the agenda to cancel?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, we try to give more than
Yeah,
enough,
I just
more than
was
enough
wondering.
information,
Yeah.
like the July 4th one, that July one's typically canceled. I believe we canceled it this year. So we get it on the schedule, just so we've got the date saved and everything.
In case we need it.
But we cancel 2 or 3 of them a year typically because there's just not enough going on.
Okay, yeah, I think the Tuesday would work.
And the only other one moving is really the January 3rd. I get it's the Monday right after New Year's and everything, but it's third, it's not the second or the first or anything like that. Does anybody?
Before.
So then it'd be the 4th.
But do you have,
Okay.
I guess my point is, do we have a problem having it on that Monday the 3rd, or do we just want to get a day in our belts underneath that, past that weekend?
Then to change them all. What if we change committee of the whole meetings to the first Tuesday? All of them.
We have
The only conflict is the Friends. I think the Friends. meeting is the
Oh.
first Tuesday.
The observation on January 3rd, the only consideration might be travel. People
Yeah, that sounds like, right. Fine, we can keep that one for that Tuesday.
Yeah.
But are you saying though that I think you're right, they do have the first Tuesday of the year. So that means those 1, 2, 3, 4 potential months we're gonna be, are they still on their summer hiatus? You're back. But no, they do though. So
They do
they-
have-
so they're still doing it, right?
It's in May, I believe, isn't it? Mike?
Yeah.
Is, yeah,
So do you think that's gonna cause much of an issue, or should we just change it where we have those meetings down here and let them have the boardroom? Do you think it's gonna cause a big problem?
no, that isn't.
Well, the only problem is the liaison is Mary, for you. He's the liaison, so he can't, he's gotta be there.
But during their hiatus, so July would be fine.
July's not gonna be a problem.
I think it's June, July, August, or
Right, June.
Yeah, July and August, right. So the January and May and the September 3rd and the September 1, both of those. Should we change it to that Tuesday then?
I'm fine with, I think I see your point and it makes sense because otherwise we're just meeting a week apart. The only challenge I see in like scheduling things is that if you have a standard thing that schedules a great Tuesday, like the Friends or someone's schedule has something on Tuesday or for Thursday, it's just gonna conflict for those days, but I mean, yeah, I if we can, I'm
Problem with moving to Tuesday or the
Well,
one?
but, so you're saying you can't do it?
Right, but
Well, no,
I can send a,
he can't be
Oh,
two
you can
places.
send someone to.
Yeah,
to
he
them.
cannot be
Yeah.
two places. at once.
Right, but you
but I did.
got it.
And if we're back in person at that time in the boardroom, they typically live in the boardroom as well, so there might be a conflict there, but we could shift.
Yeah, that would be
Just-
political.
Yeah, we'll come down here.
Yeah, we'll down here.
Yeah, we'll come down here. That's fine. That's great. So are we okay with doing the Tuesday? I mean, those 3 months a year, those 3 months a year, yeah, I guess, would that be, I think it's gonna be a problem?
No,
Yeah,
I think it'd be fine. So July 4th, we could go July 5th, right?
right.
May 2nd, we'll do May 3rd. And then September 5th would be the first.
January first.
You do January 4th.
January.
And then-
Thanks, Bill and Greg.
What day is September?
6.
6th.
So 3rd may not work either. The holidays, 2 days.
For May.
May, I'm sorry, May 3rd,
Okay,
that one. will work.
Okay, so that would have
So
to
we
be
have
the
to
9th.
either do the 9th or, oh, you know what? We have it on Christmas. Yeah, either the 4th or.
but do you want to do it that Wednesday? Does anybody have a problem doing it that Wednesday, the 4th, for right now? Okay, so let's do that, yeah, 'cause I'd really like to get that extra 2 days. Good, Mr. Mike? Yep.
Then the October board meeting would be the 25th, correct?
And, oh, yes, right, the October board meeting because of ILA, which will be Rosemont, you're by. All right. We good? All right, what was it? It was item 5, right? Okay, now on to two big ones. Item 6, review of the draft of 2022 budget.
Right. So what we have before you is the draft of the 2022 budget. This is, we've gone through this quite a bit. The administrative team met, they reviewed a number of add-ons, staffing changes, and looked at revenue, expenses, and this is our proposal for discussion. So, start on, our total general fund revenue is $15,047,955. Our operating expenditure budget for this next year would be $15,299,421. We are not doing a transfer from the general fund to the capital projects fund. That fund is, it's in good standing. It's, there's plenty of funds in there to cover capital projects over the next few years. Our, let's see, capital projects fund revenue is $5,000. I believe that's interest from capital fund. Our capital projects fund expenditure budget is $493,126. Our total combined fund revenue is $15,052,955. And our total combined fund expenditure is $15,793,347. So there is a difference of minus $740,392. So we are expending more than our revenue, which we've done over the last couple of years. Part of that is because we come in under budget typically. And did you want to say something?
You just made a statement that we've done this last couple of years. We've done this last couple of years in budget, but we haven't necessarily, have we initially every year come underneath in actual?
We always come
Yes.
under.
Substantially.
Well, where under meaning we've spent less than we brought in, right? Because I think you just made a statement because, that we're going over actually. And we've done it the last couple of years. We've done the last couple of years in the budget itself.
In the budget.
We've done it at last, but the actual has been where we've actually underspent our revenue.
Correct.
Make sure.
Good point. Great. Okay, let's see. So per our 2022 budget targets, the maximum increase in the operating budget, excluding property, is 2.9%. That was the target that you guys set for us. The amended 2021 operating expenditure budget, net of property and transfers, was $15,687,364. A 2.9% increase would yield a maximum 2022 budget amount of $16,142,298. Our proposed budget tonight, excluding property, is $15,186,810. This budget is $955,488 below the target that we had set for ourselves. This, the target, as I mentioned, was 2.9%. This proposed operating budget is net of property has increased by 0.1%. When property is included, the overall proposed 2022 operating budget increased 0.2% compared to 2021. Our revenue projections, the revenue account figures continue to follow the library's established pattern of projecting income conservatively. For real estate taxes, we've assumed 2021 levy equal to 0% increase on the 2020 extended levy. Loss cost is included in the 2022 revenue projection. So the loss cost, that is Cook County adds 1% to our tax levy to make up for any taxes that don't come in. Our intergovernmental revenue includes the per capita grant. The library will receive 24% of the personal property replacement tax, PPRT, collected by the village, and that is estimated to be $146,880. The Friends of the Library and the Arlington Heights Memorial Library Foundation also continue to supplement library services and programs to the community with their donations. The budget target for personal services adopted by the board on June 15th was a maximum increase of 3.5%, including medical insurance, which was initially set at 6%. The library administrative team has reviewed all staffing needs, estimated potential pay increases, and included estimates for a 2.6% medical insurance increase provided by the village of Arlington Heights. managers and the administrative team assess how to best fill vacancies and work to reassign and reallocate existing hours. Frozen positions throughout the pandemic allowed managers to reallocate work and roles based on the needs of the department post-COVID and accommodate new services. It also allowed us to reduce the weekend hours very easily without having to make any staffing changes as far as letting anyone go or layoffs. So our FTEs will decrease in 2022. And due to the removal of the extended weekend hours, 4.47 FTEs will be removed from the budget for 2022. The 2021 FTE budget was 165.19. The headcount will decrease our FTE to 160.72 in 2022.
That is all included in the maker in place and everything, that we're not putting separate line items for that.
No,
Correct.
that's all in.
We're a separate cost center, but they're included in the overall one.
Right, I just want to make sure, right, I just want to make sure though.
I have a question,
Sure.
just on what you said so far. And it's just me not knowing the accounting lingo. When you say when property is included, we're, 0.2%, does that mean the physical property and how much it is increased in value?
That's expenditures relating to property. And so those are kept out of, they're not really considered operational and they're not capital improvements. They are assets that are in the budget that I
Like, what's
guess.
an example?
Yeah, it could be parking lot, could be,
Okay, I got it. Like
Things that go
Yeah.
on there too.
physical property.
Right.
So we have, 2 facilities essentially.
yeah, they're not standard operating costs that would increase annually or something like that. These are costs that fluctuate.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Sorry for the.
No, it's a good question. Okay, so next is on to medical insurance. So the medical insurance budget is determined using estimates provided by the village for increases anticipated in the coming year. Based on recommendation by the village, our initial budget target included an increase of 6% for medical insurance premium. So that's what we brought to you guys in June. The village has renewed the medical insurance agreement with a 2.6% increase, so it's 3.4% lower than the initial budget target. So within our departmental budgets, medical insurance has been budgeted based on the current specific medical coverages selected by the full-time employees within each division. So we just carry over what people are already registered for. That's how we estimate what we're interested. Then regarding IMRF, the IMRF rate is set by the village. It is set at 11.47% increase for 2022. The 2021 rate was 12.54%. Yeah, it fluctuates so much.
I know, it's been like that 12.5 for a while, but yeah, you're right, the investments have been just so good.
Okay, as I mentioned, we reviewed a number of add-ons. We also had a transfer request submitted by our department managers. And an add-on is required for any change in a budget line that exceeds 1%. So a manager can increase their budget line by 1% or up to 1% without requesting an add-on. Otherwise, it goes to an add-on, and then it's reviewed by the administrative team.
So everybody understands, it's 1% per line, it's not 1% per department, so you take from here and add on to here or something like that. It is 1% per line for that department budget.
Sorry to go back to revenue projections. Mike, could you please share with the group again what a lost cost is?
Sure. So Cook County adds 1% to our tax levy to account for any taxes that don't come in for whatever reason.
And appeals.
Right, yeah, tax appeals, something.
I have something to say about that in a minute.
Do you want to go ahead?
I learned at a webinar last week on tax levies for library districts that a new law went into effect in August that any, now this isn't for, I don't believe for unpaid taxes, it's tax objections. And if they win, that money will be replaced. So what it really means is that instead of that entity paying the taxes, everybody will pay it. So of course, there's going to be challenges to it, but right now, that's what the law is, that's what was adopted in, it just went into effect like August 21st or something.
So
So that was a surprise to me.
if I challenge and mine goes down, that means all of yours are gonna go up collectively by that same amount.
Right, usually what this is, these are big objections, these
Right.
are a corporation or
Association.
whatever, a lot of times these are, $10, $15, $20,000 objections, and, yeah, so, but you're right.
They
Everybody
all
gets-
go up, all the government bodies goes up or other tax?
I don't know how that's gonna work.
Probably taxpayers are gonna have more.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
but if it's spread out, then it's so minuscule, but still, the principle, is that really right? So, I don't know.
Well, eventually that lost cost may go away.
So
So,
that's
but,
what this means, yeah.
That's essentially what it means, right?
but people who don't pay their taxes, no, I don't think it includes that. Of course, then if they don't pay their taxes, I guess I just read they're gonna have the first real estate sale here in the last couple of years on,
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Commercial property or?
No,
All property, I
Include
think.
taxes.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
they're-
for
It's gonna be huge because they need the money. So, but what was happening in the past, just so you guys know, is we, for a couple of years, got hit with additional bills from Cook County. When they lost appeals, they realized they were paying those and not getting recouped, so there was a few years that they would actually come back to us and ask us to pay with the money, I don't know if you remember that or not, and then they came up with the lost cost, was supposed to kind of level that playing field, so that's kind of.
Yeah.
They want to make sure they want, they have to have their revenue to the penny in Cook
Right.
County right now,
It doesn't mean we write a check to the county, it
Right.
means that it is taken out of the next year and they
yeah.
work it all
It's
out, yeah,
offset.
it's offset by the end of the next year.
Right, so going back to the add-ons, we received approximately 79 add-ons for the 2022 budget year. 75% were included in the budget and approved by the administrative team. Majority of these add-ons included, financially, a majority of them included a Kids World refresh, some professional services, and improvements to the makerspace building and ground. And I'll talk about those as we move through here. Some of the capital projects that were included, most of them were recommended by the engineering assessment. So every, say 10 years or so, we do an engineering assessment of the building and grounds. And we get a report that identifies all the equipment that needs to be replaced or what, building maintenance needs to be done. And that they project that out 10 years. And so we're able to really plan for our capital project improvements. The first one here is a Kids World refresh. So we've mentioned this in previous meetings. We're going to make some changes to the Kids World department to make it a little bit more enticing for our customers and update it a little bit. One of the things that we are considering is a drive-up window pass-through drawer. So right now our windows, it's a sliding window, so that window is completely open, and our staff are only a few feet from customers. For COVID reasons and temperature and a number of other things, we're looking at replacing that window with a drawer.
And one of those spinner ones too.
I think the pneumatic is the way to go.
Pneumatic.
Pneumatic. Absolutely. Didn't write that down.
All right, then we're replacing a pump in our boiler room. We're replacing the fence over at the makerspace. If you guys recall seeing the fence over there, it's not in great shape. So we'd like to replace that next year. We'll be adding security cameras to the makerspace.
What do your neighbors think about that?
The fence replacement, it's been commented on. Yeah,
When we're not
There's one-
down neighbors.
there's one part of the fence that plugged up by an extension cord wrapped around a tree over there. So it is definitely something we didn't realize that when we budgeted for the project, but we will go ahead and replace that next year. The sidewalk on the ramp, going up the ramp in front of the building will be repaired or replaced next year. And then the stone panels on the front of the building will also be replaced or repaired. Then as far as service and collection goes, some of the highlights for that will be a updated strategic plan Another compensation analysis. So comp analysis is something we do every 5 years or so. And we benchmark our salaries against other organizations that are similar to ours. And it gives us an idea of where we are as far as our salaries go. Employee engagement survey. This will be for next year. We're going to do an employee engagement survey. We do these, we're trying to do them every other year. This time we're going to start contracting with a third party. This last year we did one with SurveyMonkey. They had kind of a CAN thing that you could use to, look against, you could benchmark yourself against other organizations. This is really kind of taking it to that next level. It's another organization that this is what they do. And so we're gonna farm this out to them, and for a number of reasons, this is really beneficial. One of which is the anonymity of this. It is something that, we've heard from staff. They're worried that when they submit this, it's going to, somebody in our organization, and they can tell who submitted it. We think breaking this out to a third party will hopefully eliminate that concern.
Or is it going to be like it was though, a survey like that, or are they gonna do in-person interview?
It'll be a survey.
Survey.
Right, and there'll be standardized questions and benchmarked against other organizations, so we'll get a nice report showing how we score as compared to other organizations. Then we're expanding our wood crates to tweens. Wood crates is a pretty cool service that we're offering. It's kind of a personalized box with books and other items that are all themed for somebody, and it's really been a very popular thing with since we've introduced it. It came out of COVID as something to take home as part of passive programming, in addition to the kind of a combination of passive programming and readers advisory. And so we're expanding that to tweens, and then a public address system for the Makerplace. Okay, then our travel and training line. Each year, the managers look over our list of conferences and training, and they mark in how many people they estimate to be going to these conferences. Obviously, in the past year, our numbers were very low. We were well underspent in this line for 2020 due to COVID. So for 2022, we are planning for some conferences. That is also a big conference here, so that is increasing by 8%. When we figure this budget, we do take into account a certain percentage of people that are not going to attend. If we plan for 10 people to go to this, only 7 end up ever going. So we do take that into account. So we do trim this budget slightly, and that's what you're seeing in the draft here. Okay, now we're going to move to the summary page of the budget. So this is your full summary of where we are projected actual for 2021 and our draft for 2022. It shows the change in the 2021 and 2022 budget as well. So a couple things to point out. This is showing a 0% levy, but it does include the 1% for that lost cost that we talked about. And that's right up at the second line down under revenue. Also under revenue in PPRT, you're seeing a change of $169,000. That is because we received a settlement early on. Actually, it was budgeted in 2021. We received it in 2020. That was kind of a large lump sum payment for money that were not collected in PPRT.
So are we caught up on that now?
We are, and they are paying us annually now for the what comes in through that tax for our representative.
Wait a minute. Here you go.
So weren't they gonna change their accounting system, and wasn't it part of this money contingent upon that? Since that hasn't happened, shouldn't we be getting more money?
It was actually a whole ERP system that they were putting in.
Right. So the 221 is the cash out that we had collected. They credited us, I want to say it was like 460,000 for the new system. Because of COVID and everything, they haven't implemented that yet. So we have not realized that credit, or I don't even know if they've selected a system yet.
It hasn't started.
But we still have, so we're still owed $460.
Right, exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
That's what I was coming from.
What more do I need to add?
Well, I mean, we can go back and ask them, you know, if they want to pay out, and we can pay them, and the system comes
Well, they're
out.
holding our money and they're using our.
Exactly. That's their interest.
And the other thing is I had an issue with the fact they're only paying us annually. So they're holding our money all year. What are they
Well,
doing?
no, they pay us.
No,
pay
they
us
would, they
when-
changed that.
They do pay
At
us.
least as a handshake agreement. But they owe $460,000.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna call it where, and they're not going to,
Yeah, let's find out what the whole ERP, because obviously if we've got money invested, let's find out where they are with that schedule, because they do take a while to find and to implement.
There's no computer chips left on the planet.
That's
It's
correct.
not happening. It's not gonna happen.
Well, it's a software program, it's not, it should, hopefully shouldn't have anything to do with that.
I get it.
But they, it's gonna take a while, guys. Even in the best case.
I think they were pretty close to making a decision before COVID, and then. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, COVID happened, and it happened. Okay.
Well, they haven't made a decision. How do they know what our share is?
Yeah, our share should probably be much, much
Well, I
more.
think we topped out too. I think we said that it was either like a certain percentage,
Yeah, that's what it is.
28%
Yeah.
or 400 something
Oh.
at the highest.
Yeah, so don't push too hard though.
Right?
I hope they don't get a system that costs 600,000 and then we're paying on. I
No,
know,
it'll be-
I know it'll be a couple
Yeah,
million.
what's
like
that?
that.
Not gonna be cheap.
That's their issue.
Right, then looking at other income. We have $70,000 in for, Friends of the Library, and then $20,000 in other. We're estimating a little bit higher in Friends this year because we closed out a lot of those commitments that we had with them in 2020, 2021 due to COVID and the fact that they were not having book sales. So things like the Sense of Community grant, which is $10,000. A lot of the recurring larger programs that we weren't having, those were all released back to them. And so we'll be asking for a lot of that stuff. So that's why.
Mhm.
Then looking at expenditures, salaries, that first line there, this 2022 increase does include a grade shift of 4.2%. That is the cost of living increase as of when this budget was started. That also includes a 4.47 FTE reduction for the reduced weekend hours. So essentially, we're seeing a 0.7% increase in that line, even though we're increasing salaries 4.2%.
I think it's like, especially for the new trustees, are you comfortable with the whole FTE and what that means for full-time employees?
I'm assuming that like 40-hour employee.
37.
37 and a half, it's kind of
Yeah.
taking all of them too, because some of them,
Right.
some of them are only 15 or 20 hours, but it's
Right.
kind of bringing it all together. It shows how many full-time employees are total. Okay.
And last year, that line we did not increase at all. So for 2 years, pretty well. Fringes go down slightly,
Before you do,
yes.
help me understand the 72.53%.
Okay, that is a guideline set by the ILA, well, that's based on that.
Mhm.
72.53% is the total, that is essentially the percentage of salaries to our total operating budget. So 72.53% of our operating budget is salaries. There is a guideline by the ILA that is.
Which is made up of a bunch of librarians decided that.
Yeah. Yep.
True. Their guideline is 70%. So just to kind of show you where we are, we're pretty close to that.
I don't, and I remember last year, there was a concern we were above that. No, let's not be concerned. This is a tough time now for hiring employees. And, not that we're gonna go wild and go 80% or something like that, but I would not be concerned about 2.53% over.
All right, let's see. Those are the big ones there. Any questions so far on any of this stuff?
Good.
All right, so you can see our total operating expenditure, the next bolded line there. 0.2% increase over last year. So in 2021 amended budget, that's the first column, $15,263,023. And then the third column in 2022 budget draft, $15,299,421. That's a 0.2% increase. Then if you look down a couple lines, the ending fund balance, you can see the performance of our fund balance there. So in 2021, our fund balance was $8,957,171. For our 2022 budget draft, it is $10,806,721. So as we talked about a little bit ago, some of that money does go back into our budget line. 2020 was an exceptional year. 2021 was an exceptional year as far as being underexpended. So you're seeing a large increase in that fund balance. That's not typical. Then looking at capital, here is, if you look at our beginning fund balance for 2021, we're $5,460,970. Then looking at 2022 budget draft, $3,387,771. So we had $2 million come out of capital in this last year. That is the makerspace and the Miller picking unit project. There's a small amount of interest income there. And then we are projecting capital expenditures for 2022 in the amount of $493,926. A majority of that is our Kids World project that we've done. And I've asked our architect to come to the board meeting next week to talk about this project, so you guys have a better understanding of this before your budget's approved. So they'll give us some renderings and give you an overview as to what that all includes.
Thank you.
So all the way at the bottom there, looking at your ending fund balance, last 2021, your amended budget was $12,351,905. Our 2022 budget draft shows $13,715,566. So it's an 11%. So the fund balance is pretty good.
So my questions that I sent you now or later.
Yeah, okay, so John had a question about the difference in the fund balance on the long-range fiscal
The
plan.
budget draft versus the budget.
Yes, so if you look at line L.
Are we going into the, plan?
We're just gonna address this
We're
one.
making cycle.
Yeah.
Well, the next packet,
Yeah,
yes.
sorry.
Yeah.
Next packet, item 7,
Okay.
and then first page, or second page, I'm sorry. Looking at the plan, if you look at line L, unincurred expenditure estimated at 4%. So this is based on historically what we underspend every year. And we put a number in there that estimates, okay, so for 2022, we're estimating $612,000 underexpended. So the difference in what you're seeing, Dan, is we're taking that into account in our own.
Got it. Thank you.
Cool. Quick question. Okay, so we'll move on then to the individual budgets. Most of these budgets are pretty much just carrying over from last year. Anything that is outstanding that I feel, or if you have any questions about, or needs attention, please let me know. But I'm gonna just kind of address the things that are above and beyond, or major swings either way. So looking at what's labeled as page 2 at the top, administration. No major surprises. A lot of these are going to be a little bit underspended on in some of these areas because of the pandemic. They'll all have a 2.6 increase in medical insurance applied, but your total medical insurance may fluctuate based on salary changes or personnel changes. The IMRF, all of these lines, the IMRF, Social Security, Medicare, FSA, and employment, most of that will remain the same throughout all of these. So the very first line, if you look at salaries in this 001 account, you see a $25,000 add-on and transfer. That's a $25,000 add-on that I put in there due to the change or the current situation with the administrative team, I wanted a little bit of money there to, in case I make some changes to some of the positions that are currently open. Then looking at professional services, we have $15,000 for architectural services added on from the typical 5,500. So that is for architectural services for some design, or sorry, some redesign and some projects that we're planning for 2023. That would include redecorating or redoing the core entrance downstairs or the second floor restroom upstairs. There's a few areas throughout the library that it's been a while since they've been touched. And so we have a little bit of money there to work with our architect for design.
Make one point about that though. Those are capital expenditures, they're probably gonna be over the limit, so this is the budget, and we're budgeting for those particular things, but it's still gonna come back to us. Where we're gonna talk about that, we're going to approve the expenditures going forward, so it's not like we're putting it in here and we're saying, okay, just go on it, it will still come back for oversight.
Right, so this is just money to work with the architect to come up with a plan to bring you guys for planning for 2023, kind of like what we're doing with Kids World. And consulting services, we have $40,000 in there for the strategic plan consultant. So that is based on the last time we went to out to bid for a strategic plan. We had bids ranging from I think 17,000 to 60,000 or 70,000. 40,000 was the average of those. This was safe. The one that we actually went with ended up being around 22,000. So that will give us our strategic plan. And telephone services, that same column right before the bold line there, the $30,500 in parentheses, so that's a savings of $30,500. That is because we moved from AT&T card lines for our phones to a voice over IP system. And then at the bottom, our capital outlay, just want to point out the $400,000. That is the Kids World Refresh capital project. So we're budgeting for that. And then moving on to page 3, communications and marketing. No major changes in this line, really. There's a couple of just transfer in there, and we put in a small add-on just for some additional hours for special projects.
Does that mean like overtime civilian for an hourly paid worker as opposed to a salaried worker? Okay.
Yeah, some of these
That's what I figured, but
labels are a little
Yeah,
like
that's all right. As
cryptic.
long as you don't mind me asking.
No, that's a good answer. Okay, then page 4, moving on to human resources. One to identify here is in other services, about midway through the page, $26,600. That is our benchmarking in compensation survey for $19,000, and our employee engagement survey for $7,600. A couple of small things in here. The $2,000 in the employee volunteer recognition line is an increase in the amount that we give staff for their service awards for years of service. We haven't updated that in a number of years, and we felt that that was due to an increase. But most of the stuff is pretty much just there. Okay, then looking at page 5. This is paid by gifts and grants. So this is a budget line that represents the funding from the Friends and other revenue sources. The foundation is not necessarily included in here because the foundation operates a little bit differently in that they get revenue and they spend their money and then they give us a thing. So like the kitchen at the makerspace, they pay directly to ITW for all of that equipment. They're operating as a separate organization. For the Friends, we make a request for funds, we spend the money and they reimburse us. So that hits our books. So this budget reflects what we're anticipating to ask from the Friends and be reimbursed for, or other revenue sources. Some people donate directly to the library, so that is included in there as well. So as I mentioned, we increased this a little bit to account for some of those lines that were give back to the Friends or uncommitted. We'll be looking to recommit those such as the Central Community. So this budget line or this whole budget is kind of difficult to plan, just because so many things come up throughout the year that, hey, we could go to Friends for this, or, we were not anticipating that revenue coming in from a donation. So we do our best guess or best estimate on this based on historical and what we're projecting to do next year. Okay, then looking at page 6, this is our finance department. There was a slight increase in a fee. Then we had our service charge increase 3% annually. So that is our, if you look at the last line there, IP service charge, that's our annual 3% increase from the village for the benefits administration, payroll, accounting, stuff like that. The one thing that is not taken into account here is in the salary line. That may decrease slightly as we did have a resignation in that line. Then on page 7, we have information technology. Nothing significant really in this one. We had an increase for our internet access of $950. And we have an add-on for a copier printer replacement in the amount of $12,600. And that one has been a recurring one that we would just keep in the budget. And our IT manager just took it out because we didn't need it last year. And so he's adding it back in to replace a couple of specific copiers. Anything? Okay, then looking at page 8, security. Let's see, we have a slight add-on here, $2,457 for potential change in one position. We did remove 13 hours for the one of the frozen positions, but we may add back a little bit for a supervisor role. And then we have just some training, AED training and recertification for those staff. So that was a pretty basic budget. Okay, then 60/20. This is page 9, facilities. This one also had some weekend hours, or the weekly hours removed due to the shortened weekend hours. We have a couple minor things in here. Concrete patching and paint work around the library, the amount of $4,000. We reduced the petroleum product by $6,000. That was estimated a couple years ago for increased in van usage and bookmobile usage for picking up items. We're making transfers for the schools and pickups in parks and stuff like that. So we estimated an increase a couple years ago, but it's not needed nearly as much as we had originally anticipated. So we're removing $6,000 there. And then the $28,926 in the capital line represents that drive up the pass-through drawer and replacement of that pump in our boiler.
Here's the question. With the petroleum products, I'm assuming we're talking about the bus, right? And like
Yeah.
other transportation type stuff.
Right.
With COVID, have we been making as many trips?
Not as much.
And
When
like,
we're closed, we were.
as a business, I know, all of my supply chains are just, it's insane right now.
Mhm.
And prices are just going up, period. Just due to getting things from one point to another. So it seems like a large amount to be taking back out in light of hopefully moving forward with more busing and transportation and unknown infrastructure changes with shipping and availability of.
Yeah, no, we had added, I want to say it was $10,000 a while ago for that. And not just in 2020, but previous, we just are not using that much. It's for our van, mostly, and then, bookmobile, we do some increased stuff, but not enough to make a significant difference. So to your point, our 2021 projected year-end actual will only be $2,500 for growing products. So we are still keeping a buffer there of, a few $1,000, $1,500, but it's more than we need to keep in that line.
And then one other question to follow up with that. Let's say the van goes kaput, I don't know, it throws a, whatever, do we have a contingent, like, I don't know, I think, once you pay off your car, you should keep paying if you're still paying, like, do we have a area, like, is that part of the same area that we would?
It wouldn't come out of petroleum, but, we do have a replacement schedule for the vehicles.
Okay.
And so that is, what we do.
Like,
for
so
the
that goes in the
regular-
facilities part, that was something
If it
else.
comes, but if it dies during the year unexpectedly, he's going to be coming back to us.
Exactly.
saying we need to spend X amount of time to buy a new one.
Right, no, that's exactly my
Increase the
point, like,
budget.
where are we planning for, deterioration?
Yeah, we do have a little bit of contingency money if something did happen. Maybe we wouldn't replace the whole vehicle, but we would have it repaired, and, so we do have some money to. And that's a regular thing with like the bookmobile. We do have issues with it, and we take it and have it repaired. We did actually have the company that maintains it give us an estimate as to how long they think, what the expected life is left on that bus. I want to say they said 5 years, so it is in our long range plan to replace. Because that's a large cost.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good question. Anything else on this one? Okay. All right, we are then looking at page 10, new services. This one does have a salary line that was added. So we did remove a 23-hour position. And then we did add another position back for 20 hours to carry on some of the services that they had started in COVID and to continue additional story times and stuff like that as things are ramping up. So we did approve that one. We did offset it with some other costs that we were able to remove from the services line. And one of it, and a maker-based position. Then I think that was, the tween lift rates that I mentioned, those are represented in this line as well under circulation supplies for $3,950.
How many is that for, do you know? Just because I remember them saying how great the younger.
I don't know how many that's planned for, but we did figure the cost on each lift crate, and it's around $5.
Oh, okay,
So if that helps.
so that's a lot, yep,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, then moving on to page 11, info services. Again, it decreased in the salary line due to the shortened weekend hours. And then we had a small increase for program supplies, $500. And this one's overall down 2.6%. So as you'll see, kind of as we're moving through these, if you look at the over budget or under budget, 2021 versus 2022, it's a small amount. So this particular one, negative 2.6%. On page 12, circulation. Also, hours removed due to the weekend hours. And a small increase in dues, but other than that, nothing significant in this one. Yeah, 12.7, that's in focus. Then page 13, senior and accessibility services. Again, nothing significant here. Everything pretty much carried over. And then page 14, programs and exhibits. Again, this one's pretty much just carried over. There's a 1% increase in a couple of lines. But nothing significant. And the programs and exhibits, you may be thinking, well, makerspace is down, you got to be seeing an increase because of makerspace. So that is represented in a separate budget that we'll be getting to. So on page 17. So there are some increases to programs and exhibits, but it's on that other budget. On page 15, digital services. We did purchase additional hotspots during COVID, and we are carrying over, are we adding $1,320 to the budget line to continue the cellular service on those. They are still heavily used, so we do have wait times on those, so we're carrying those over. And then we had $1,200 add-on for the digital services tech bank out there, where we showcase technology. So that $1,200 will allow us to theme that 4 times throughout the year. Small amount to put new things out there. And then we have $2,700 just in new electronic resources. Nothing real significant. All right, then looking at page 16, collection services. Please.
I didn't drop. I just, when you said display things, that the small tools, you mean the display, like a digital display?
Yeah, we have a tech bench out there that we show new technology.
Okay,
And so it could be, I mean, we've done a number of different things, but like themed technology.
okay.
iPhones and stuff.
Yeah, or music related,
Yeah.
or accessibility related, or, you know, a number of different.
Okay.
So we'll maybe purchase those devices and put them out there, or have some display until this money helps to fund what we do on it.
Okay, thank you for explaining.
And then do they become part of the library of things or?
Depends, all depends on what it is. The accessibility collection, we moved it to actually, I think part of those did go in the library of things, but the senior accessibility
Yeah.
services department helped to decide what to put out there and then utilize some of the things afterwards. I'm trying to think of some of the other things, but yeah, they'll either be used,
Just be used
they'll
somewhere.
be, lent out to customers, or they'll be put in the library thing, or used in some other way.
No, thank you, because that makes sense why it would increase as things keep coming out.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, then collection services, this line basically is what we purchase all of our books, our AV, most of our ebooks out of. So this line, there's some changes in this line. So we did reduce processing supplies, audiovisual, and books lines by about, 4% for the books line, 4% for EV, and then 33% for processing supplies. And processing supplies is really, it's preparation of the physical items that are going into the collection. So, as you guys have seen that downward trend of circulation, this is in response to that. We also took $12,300 out of that book line and moved it to processing services. So that is going to fund a piece of software called Collection HQ, and it basically helps us to determine, or helps us to populate our collection in a very intelligent manner. So it just helps guide our selection process. That one. Then page 17, this one's a little bit of a bigger one. We've got a lot of changes going on in here. This is the makerspace line. And what we did with this is we kept anything related to this makerspace building in a separate cost. So we can see all of our costs going forward related to the makerspace. And so you guys will be able to see how, performance is in this budget separately from everything else.
And the auditor are fine with that, the accounting practice on that?
Yeah, this is a pretty standard. So the first line on salaries, we have 15-hour sub-positions. So this is a position of 2 sub-positions. When we hired for the makerspace, we hired for the hours that we knew we were going to be open. We didn't include any time for people on vacation or out sick. So we did include a 5-hour sub to be able to help out with that. And that's typical of what we do in other departments. We also added 10 hours to that for the rental time, because we're going to be closed Monday and Friday. And we will likely also offer the kitchen and the space for rental and times that the library or the building is closed over there. So we want to be able to staff that. And our first thing to do is to staff it with maybe event staff, somebody that can work over there and just kind of keep the building open, or security or facility, somebody who's available. But we're adding a 10-hour sub-position to be able to make sure that we can follow through on that, on being able to staff that during those medical times.
Is it 1 hour per month
Per
or
week.
per week? Okay.
Then we, let's see, 22,500 in building maintenance. So that is replacement of the door in the basement, going out the boiler room. Repair of that, the concrete stairwell in the back there by the door. Tuck pointing throughout the building for $7,000. Professional cleaning on a regular basis, really for the kitchen. And then AV connections, which is another projector and screen in the main maker space for $2,500.
That repair door, that concrete door in the back door there, I mean, I know it's blocked off now.
It is, no, it is open.
It is open now?
Yeah, you
I
can-
know it was backed up for a little.
Has to be open.
Yeah, our staff were able to repair it to get it to open.
Okay.
Yeah, that was,
That was one of the issues, I believe, our friends.
yes. Then we added $7,800.
Did it ever close?
Yes, we gotta close again too. We added $7,800 for contractual maker programs, so that's presenters coming in with, throughout the year for.
So why aren't they paying us?
Yeah.
My,
Well, okay, it's not just that, but it's also, oh no, wait, that is that. No, it's a good question. But we do have a lot of programs to get presenters for, so not all of them can be free, but yes, maybe we can offset this with the revenue for getting those people. in.
giving them exposure to new customers.
Yes. Okay, then we added $1,575 for internet access, that was not included in the original budget. There were small lines added for like toner and circulation supplies. We added $7,529 for non-food culinary supplies and garbage cans. So just a couple things for continuing to stock the space. And then program events, $6,000, that's program supplies for certain programs like soldering or 3D printing, stuff like that, where there's consumables, that helps cover that. We then have $5,221 for motorized blinds and the PA system. So you guys can picture the main area. We have those windows up at the top. These blinds, they're solar powered. So there'll be a solar panel in the window and there's a battery and a remote control. Because those blinds are so high up, we're able to control them electronically and we don't have to run any wiring to them or anything like that.
Are you talking the front door coming in, or are you talking on the west side?
The west side.
In the west
On
side.
the west side of the building, so nighttime.
Second story.
Yeah, those,
Yeah, okay.
those really high.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
Talk to us about the PA system. What is this, a megaphone that you?
Yeah.
It's the guy at Jewel.
It's like-
Yeah.
It's like the. It's
It's
the
like-
over.
it's gonna get
for $1,200.
What's that? Is it still high?
Well, by the time you're done with the blind.
No, the blinds are fairly inexpensive. They're about, I think those are $1,221 and then the PA system is $4,000. So that's bigger throughout the building. We'll probably run the cable in that. Then in the capital outlay, we have $65,000. That's for a new fence, security cameras, replacement of the sidewalk part of the ramp, and then repairing the solar panels on the front of the building.
Just a question, like, it might be in here, is that garbage fee or waste removal any different
There
with the
is.
material?
It
Also?
is, let's see, it is in, it'll be either that or building maintenance. But yeah, we have, we're contracting with garbage.
So even with the different materials, like the metal, I mean, anything, I don't know, it's just different, I would imagine than here with the different stuff going through.
Yeah, anything that's probably very different, that's like recyclable in a different way, we would probably keep separate.
If it would be a cost, the only reason is, we've run into some of this stuff on a personal level of the cost of getting rid of some things and,
Okay.
it's fun stuff. And also just like super throwing it out there as ever a future idea, if waste for the kitchen ever becomes like composting, or if there was, down the line, not now, but just something, that's an idea.
I'm wearing her shirt.
Pardon?
We're wearing her shirt. She wants the garden on the roof.
Oh, very Nancy, very.
Anthony wanted to go.
I mean,
That's a good idea.
Oh, no, it's just, it goes out of house. Water protection and.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the one book with village, we've got a lot of like, you know, using resources wisely.
Right.
Budget, we should think
The
about.
water barrel.
Yeah.
Good suggestion.
Get two in my backyard.
Yeah, eventually we'd like to put some,
Set up the
like,
for 5 years.
small garden in
I mean,
there.
down the line, you got your hands full right now.
Yeah. So that's our budget. You guys have questions about anything?
No.
And just to reiterate again, you know, that makerspace budget is much larger than the other ones, you know, you see a lot more lines in there. That is, every department that's taking from the makerspace comes out of this line. But we do have different authorities on each line, so like programs are, they can only sign off on the program stuff. Facilities can only sign off on the facility stuff, so there is still that check and balance that we have with everything else, but we are representing that.
So on the Belmont building, so it's account 3202, program events. Who signs off on that?
That would be Jennifer.
No kidding.
Yeah, so it's 6480, 3202. She typically would sign off on, I think it's like 6440 or something.
Okay.
But she would just, she's still contracting these, you know, say like bringing in somebody with a culinary background.
So she's gonna do the programming over there too.
Right. So they're gonna take a portion of it and then make a face back as either interested.
Yeah.
So what does Chris sign off on then?
He signs off on, I think,
But everything else.
yeah, a lot of this other stuff. So office supplies, supplies reimbursed, like patron, data supplies, upper library. Pretty much anything that's not facilities or programs.
Okay.
I see he has a line in there. So it's really, this is like essentially a mini budget. that
Right,
has
right.
lines that represent all the different departments.
Have we accounted for extra time in those departments for the additional work of the makerspace? Like we added hours for staffing for that or?
Most, the department that would probably have the biggest impact is, well, security and facilities each got additional positions to staff up over there. Programs also will be doing stuff over there in conjunction with makerspace staff. So they're just kind of shifting what they're working on, you know, to be able to accommodate it. Those are probably the ones that will be most significantly impacted.
There's more for programming or no? We're just
We
asking.
didn't add positions for programming.
We did add individuals, though, with the makerspace who will take your place, who will be responsible for those programs.
Because in many instances, the cooking classes that they were already doing here really will be going over there.
Now, there'll be more, you
Yeah.
know, obviously, and we'll evaluate that throughout the year. Bring back next year if we need to make changes, but we do have a culinary specialist with the makerspace staff, so they'll be helping out with that as well, so.
I just have had jobs before we had the maker
I want to
place.
be the chef of the makers. He's a very nice guy.
Yes.
I like that.
Great one.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Thanks, Mike. I know it's a lot of detail we're going through, and obviously you can see what the staff goes through too, as we're putting it all together, so thank you all that. It's very important. This is one of probably the three most important things that we do as a board, is looking at this, making sure that everything makes sense, so your questions are fantastic. We're gonna be going over this. I don't think we're going over the board meeting, right? This is the October one,
Right, this will be October Cal.
the October cal.
Yep.
We'll come over this again, and so if you have any more questions that come up as the time comes up, please, forward them to Mike beforehand, or, afterwards, be ready for that particular thing. One thing I do want to say is, it's fantastic, we gave you a target at 2.9% with the 16.1. We're coming in almost $1 million below that target that we had. And we're still keeping everything running the way it should be. So that's fantastic. That's awesome. Anything else from there? Okay, let's go on to my favorite one. Item 7, the long-range fiscal plan.
Okay, so our long-range fiscal plan.
Mind you,
What you have in front of you is, this is a 5-year estimate. We did 5 years based on what our engineering assessment is showing, after that, you don't get a whole lot of accuracy after that. But this is showing basically what is based on the projected for 2021 and the budget that is in draft mode right now for 2022. We did an engineering assessment for the main building in late 2019, early 2020, and then we also we did one for the maker space as well. So this is inclusive of both buildings. And there is a project list on the last page of your packet here with the projects that are included in this long-range plan and some of the things that we'll be anticipating replacement or repair. Some of the bigger ones, and I mentioned potentially replacement of or remodeling of the core entrance, the locker room. The ceiling tile and lighting fixtures are something that may be coming in the next couple of years. That's a very large one. The lighting would be $1 million. Let's see, the elevators all need attention, not so much on the mechanicals, but just updating the controls and the look. For 2022, we did talk about the Kids World refresh and all those things. I won't go over again, but we did talk about those. Kids World, this for 2022, we're considering that a phase 1 at $400,000. There are going to be some things that we will probably follow up in that year following and maybe the next year. And that might be a couple of additions to the hub or some reconfiguration of the staff space there. So we have $100,000 in each of the following years, 2023 and 2024. One of the things that's kind of been recurring is to replace the air handling unit systems for the 68th building and the 78th building. Those are massive units that are built into our building. And so to replace these would be major surgery on this place. So we are, instead of planning to replace these, we are looking to kind of rebuild them with the components that are still currently available. So we're talking different bearings, motors, controls, compressors, all that.
But to keep the hub.
Right, so the frame is kind of built into the building. And if we take that out, we're gonna be down with no HVAC for quite some time. So we're proposing in the future to do either keep spare parts on hand or do a full rebuild of each of these units in place.
At some point, we're gonna, remember when I was first on the board, one of the first things I asked them, we really got 3 buildings here, and we've got 3 air handling units throughout this building. It'd be great if we get that all into one thing now. We shut it down because it's really expensive to do that. You'll do that. This building would be torn out in order to do that. But
It would be about $3 million. So
yeah, it would be really expensive, obviously, to do it. But at some point, I don't know.
Well, one of the
When
things,
it's down the line, it would actually be better for us still.
one of the things that, like with the replacement of the picking unit, the improvement in controls does make a difference. And so that's one of the things that's been on this plan is the improvement of controls of the air from each of these units. So not only monitoring, but distribution of air. So although putting everything on one system would be ideal, the amount of money and time to do that would be astronomical. If we could get the control system to be more able to fine tune it and stuff like that, I think that would make that equally impressive impact. And hopefully that new unit on the far end of there is more reliable in the future. That is good. As you can see, in 2024, we do have the replacement of a pickup truck listed. So we need to kind of address your question from earlier. And let's see, then we have the replacement of the bookmobile in 2025 as of right now. So you can see there's a little blurb right there. Our current bookmobile was purchased in 2009. Steve, our mechanic, said the bookmobile is in great shape and shouldn't have any predictable major repairs in the next 5 years and beyond. There will be, of course, normal wear and tear repairs and the occasional surprise, but for the most part, it appears solid and to work like. So we are kind of budgeting based on that professional opinion. So in 2025, provide new web-based DDC control system for all new and existing systems. that is the control system, the digital control system that could help tie some of this stuff together.
You get a lot of complaints about it, or does it break a lot?
The Miller picking unit has been a little bit of an issue. That is the major unit on that corner of the building, and it kind of feeds that side of the building. That was kind of it was a design that probably wasn't the best for the space, and it had never worked well from the beginning. And we've done multiple compressors.
Too hot, too cold, or?
We did break. The compressors will go bad, and these compressors are massive. I mean, the unit itself has a door that you walk in, and then, it's like a vestibule, and, you have all the different sections of it. So replacement of that system, the technology in those systems has come a long way since we put it in. So that will help alleviate a lot of the headaches that we have regarding HVAC. There is some leveling issues or some, making sure that offices are consistent in temperature and stuff. You could have one office that's very cold and the next one that's very warm, and they're right next to each other. So it's that balance and that stuff. Right now we have pneumatic gates or valves in our ducts, and so that's what controls the airflow. And so going away from that into more, newer digital control system would be very helpful. Well, those are some of the big ones. We do have a roof in 2024 at $300,000 for a 68 building. It's something just to kind of point out. But those are a little bit. So you kind of have an idea. This is kind of where we're looking at the major expenditures over the next few years. Now, the 2 pages preceding that, so did you have
No, I'll get to that point.
all right, well, let's move on to the actual plan that takes all of that into account. So this plan looks at our general fund and our capital projects fund and estimates where we're going to be at over the next couple of years. So this is based on our operating trajectory, the capital projects that listed in here, and the expected unincurred expenditure. So that's the line that we talked about. This first plan that I have assumes I did change the operating expenditures increase. So it was 1%. I increased it to 2.5%. I feel like the operating expenditures have probably been going up a little higher than what was estimated here. But I did decrease the levy increase to 0% through 2027. So what you're looking at here is a 0% increase throughout. It does keep the loss cost assumption at 1% and increases the operating expenditure to 2.5% from 2023 going forward. Now, 2022 is only 0.2%, so it's a small amount. But going forward, we could see increases in trying to be as conservative as possible with these numbers. So as the one of the, I think, Greg, probably your favorite line is line U, the ending fund balance, total general funds, the net expenditure ratio. It's essentially how much we have in our general fund as compared to our operating expenditures. And if you look at, let's see what line we do. And that fine print at the bottom, the second line from the bottom, unrestricted general fund balance should be no more than 4 months, 33%, and no less than 4 months, and no more than 9 months, 75% of coming year expected annual operating expenditure. So that is in our policy that's where we want to keep that fund between 33 and 75%. So as you can see for 2022, we're at 74%, and that's meaning out to 2027, we're at 34%. And these numbers are probably a little bit more favorable than what you looked at last year or the previous year, and that's because of the larger money that we put back into the fund over the past, essentially 2 years.
We're at 75% this year.
Correct.
Projected.
And as you can see, if you look at that 2019 line, we were 59% in 2019. So you can see that significant difference over just these past 2 years based on the underexpenditures. Now, the capital, if you look at your capital projects fund, your fund balance in green is ZZ. So this is why we did not do a transfer. You your capital, oh, I'm sorry, not TV, that's your combined.
You're looking at, I'll try to get the combined.
Oh, here we go. Look at AA.
Mhm.
So this is your fund balance in the capital projects fund. So if you look at 2022, we have $3,467,000 in there. This is where we take all those capital projects and we subtract out through 2027. And even through 2027 with zero amount transferred, oh, I'm sorry, zero amount transferred this year or next year into our capital projects fund. We would be on track, we can keep that fund funded. And then in 2024, if you look up at line 10, that's a transfer into our capital fund to replenish some of those funds. So we do $1 million in 2024, 700,000 in 2025, 550,000 in 2026, and then 550,000 in 2027. And that keeps us in a real good spot with our capital fund as well. So even while, keeping that fund well funded and still within where we need to be in our office.
And those expenses obviously are in line 10, they're transferred over, so they are accounted for in the general fund too.
So even though, we're in a good financial position there, I did include get some stuff up. The long range plan is a 1% estimated in 2023 through 2027. So you can see how that makes a difference over those next few years. And so going out, that puts us at 48% in 2027. I think it's good to see.
Definitely. So as Mike said before, this is the U is always the one I'm kind of looking at because it's kind of for us with our health, the quick snapshot of our health. And obviously we're doing fine. And I've said this probably every year. We kind of have to use this to look out. Do we need to make that decision at some point? Because obviously we don't want to increase our tax levy as much as little as we can. We don't want to. I said that right. We don't want to increase our tax levy if we don't have to. But obviously, this shows us if it did go with the budget of the cost of the 2.5%, we would have to think about it at that particular point. We'd rather do 1% over the years instead of doing a 5 or 6 or 7% big one in one particular. But I will say that we have been really good. 8 years I've been on here, that number keeps pushing out. 5 years down the line, it's always kind of like at 34%, but we don't get to that point because of the fantastic job that we do in budgeting and controlling our expenses every year. Anything else? Okay. Anything else from you, Mike?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. All right. Excellent. I think that's it. So we're on to other here. I just have a couple things here, a few little things here. First of all, obviously, over the last couple of weeks, we've had a couple other losses from the library family, Amy Gray and Margaret Usich. Am I saying that last name correct? Two people had put a lot of time into the library. So again, as a board, I think we want to pass along our condolences to both of those families. They was last Tuesday and last Friday. I think they had the services for both of families. And so I just want to again pass along our condolences to them. From the family of Margaret Frisbee, we did get a thank you. On behalf of the Frisbee family, thank you for joining us in sorrow and celebration of the life of Margaret Frisbee. Her shadow still dances and her light will shine on. So we did get that. We did get that. The portrait of a soldier exhibit that we have up here. I just thought I'd pass along. We went to the First Presbyterian Church, the service that they had over there. And I did get a chance to talk actually with Governor Quinn and one associate. Forgive me, I forgot her name. I think it's Cheryl or something like that. But anyway, they passed along just how fantastic it was working with the staff and putting this together. It's one of the best, libraries that they've worked with in putting this all together. So, obviously, thank you, Dino, to all them, for all the hard work that they did in putting that together. We've got a lot coming up this week as far as what's going on. Just so everybody knows, we've got a bunch of tours that are actually going on. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock, it's going to be if I get this wrong, the Friends are gonna be on tomorrow night, at 5 o'clock. On Friday, it's going to be the foundation, I believe it's 6. Then we're gonna have one on Saturday for the neighbors at noon, I believe, correct? And then Sunday is the big event, starting at noon, over there. And then we are going to have one for the business community on Wednesday. And that starts at 8 a.m.
Right.
Correct? I think I got those all right. So there's a lot of events obviously going on. Big week, big things coming up. So it's gonna be a lot of fun getting this thing going.
I gotta say, our staff has been really hustling over there to get everything done. Obviously, there's a lot to do, and they've been doing a great job, so.
Now, as far as the speeches on Sunday, Mark.
Correct?
Wow.
Wow. It's been a full, long day for me.
Only Monday.
Greg, are you speaking? You will speak for the library board. Thank you. Whatever you're.
I'm the master of ceremonies.
Okay, that's,
Mistress of ceremony.
I'm the mistress of ceremonies.
thanks, Curly.
Like great jokes already.
What was it?
Oh, really? Oh, God.
Sorry, where you going?
5 p.m. tomorrow is Friends,
Yes.
and then 5 p.m. Thursday.
Friday.
16,
Right.
16.
5:30, it's 5:30 on Friday is the foundation, right?
5:30 or 6?
I thought the invitation said 5:30.
5:30 because I'll get this.
And
I
then
know.
as far as the Saturday with the neighbors, who's been in, how does the neighborhood know that?
We put door hangers on the surrounding homes.
How far does that go, just out of curiosity?
Several dollars,
Lots.
258 dollars.
Like, I didn't get one, so I'm just trying to figure out where that is, so, okay. Is it okay if I post that in Rec Park, or is that we trying to control numbers?
I believe we just wanted to hit the surrounding. few
I can see Rec Park and I'm not in Rec Park.
Okay, fair enough.
We want them to feel special.
Sure,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure that
And they put up with a lot with construction and stuff. We really want to hit those immediate.
What time is that one Saturday? That's at 5?
No, that was it.
And I'm planning on going to all of them. so.
Are we invited to all?
Yeah.
I haven't seen, okay.
It should be on the calendar.
Some of them, but I don't know if I-
I don't think.
Friends.
Friends.
No.
Did you? want
Yeah.
it?
The foundation, no, the foundation is their event, so
Okay.
they're handling that invite list. You probably would have been invited to the neighbor and the one on Sunday.
I was only invited to the Sunday.
Me too.
That's all I'm trying. I'm looking at the
I
calendar.
didn't see the neighbor one
Yeah,
yet.
I agree.
I mean, is that what you want?
Like, what do you want?
Yeah, what do you want us to do?
Sunday.
Yeah, I would say you focus on the Sunday one.
And then the Wednesday after that, right?
The Wednesday after that will be for
Chamber.
the Chamber of Commerce. Yeah, if we could have representation from 1 or 2 trustees, that would be ideal.
That's at 8
If
o'clock.
we go more than that, then it's other
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We're going to know that in advance if there's any.
Any other?
I do have other. I just wanted to let you guys know, I know there's been some talk about the vaccine mandate for businesses over 100 employees. I just want to let you guys know kind of what we're thinking. You know, when that comes about, we would follow what the federal mandate would be. And that's, to require the vaccine or be tested on a weekly basis. We would likely bring in another testing company to test weekly, for the staff that are not vaccinated. But without seeing the details of it yet, that's just kind of where we're at with it right now. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Why would you bring in a testing company?
We don't-
It's not your obligation to test them. It's my obligation to be tested.
Right, it's a convenience thing for our staff to be able to test here once a week, and we would do it once a week.
But it comes at a cost. right?
Not to us, it's the insurance pays for it, so we just pretty much host it. And we did it when staff were coming back to the library after the closure, and we had a service here, I'd say it was every other week for a while, and staff would go up and get tested regularly and get it further on.
Do you have a sense, I don't know if you can do this HR wise, on what percentage of your staff without knowing,
We don't know. I have a feeling it's around 80% or it's ever vaccinated. We don't know that for sure. We just know based on the requirement that we've had for staff that, you know, if they didn't want to wear a mask before the mask mandate came back, we required vaccine. So based on that, we think it's probably around 80%. And then we also have the Arlington Heights Park District Board of Commissioners joint meeting, Saturday, October 23rd, at 8:30 a.m. at the Maker Place. That's all I have.
Anybody else, anything? Yeah, can we have a motion to go into closed session, please?
I'll move we go into closed session in accordance with 5 ILCS 120/2C1 for the purpose of discussing personnel issues.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are now going into closed session. Good. We are back in open session for the Board of Trustees for Memorial Day Library. Oh, my gosh, sorry, it's so late, on Monday, September 13th, 2021. Do we have a motion for approval of the closed session minutes?
I'll move that we approve the minutes from the closed session.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, that passes. And then all we need is a motion for.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. We are done.